Now we are going to have some basic introduction to arrays. Arrays in JavaScript is used for storing a collection of multiple items, something like this. Let's say there is a variable ARR or any variable you can use is equal to, and in this big capital brackets, if you write values like this, comma separated, then basically what it means is that this variable is a collection of multiple items called 1 2 3 4 5. Again, if you write something like this, hello comma world, then this ARR2 is an array, which means that it is a collection of two strings, hello and world, two values, you can understand. So an array has multiple values one after the another, and then it will be comma separated. In some programming languages it has to be of a particular type, but as we mentioned earlier also, that JavaScript is a dynamically typed language, and then you can have dynamic types. So in fact, in case of arrays, you can have multiple you can have different items with various types in the same array, something like this, that you can see that 1 comma 2 comma hello comma 3 comma true. So you can see that string, number, boolean all are in the same array. So that is fine. That so this restriction is not there in JavaScript, and in JavaScript this type of array is perfectly valid. Okay. Now the items, let's say I want to get this thing, or I want to get this hello. Okay, then how to get that item? So what happens in that, in JavaScript, let's say there is an array ARR, and then there are values, let's say 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. Now what happens is that obviously if you print, then you will right now you will see simply this array will print it, right? Now let's say I don't want the whole array, I want just 3 from this. So I want 3 means I want the third element. Now what happens that in arrays the indexing starts from 0, not 1, which means that array index 0, and this is the syntax where you put a big bracket, and then in that you put the index, and the index starts with 0, which means that if you write something like this 0, then you get 1. If I write something like 1, then I get, you see, 2. So if I want to get the fourth value, then I will do index 3, and I will get that fourth value, right? And in that matter, for that matter, anything can be there. So let's say something like this is there, right? Then I can clearly see that if I take array 1, then I get 4. If I get array 2, then I will get the third element, 564. Okay, so this is how it is working. So it is starting with 0 index rather than 1 index. So 0, array 1 0 will give this first value, array 2 1 will give the second value of the ARR2. Second value of the ARR2 is world, and that's why world is coming. Now now we have something called dot length. So if there is an array and you want to find that, okay, I don't know what is the length. So programmatically you understand that if let's say this is a very long array and you don't know that if I keep on doing 2 3 4 till what I can do, what is the maximum value I can put here. So for that you should know the length of the array, right? Why? Because you see that, see 0 index, 1 index, 2 index, 3 index. You see, if I write 3 index, then this will give me the last item, that is fine, 435. But if I write 3 instead of 3, I write 4, which means that I want the fifth element, but there is no fifth element here. But if you do something like this, JavaScript will not give you error. In fact, it will give you undefined. This is again another use of undefined, where if any index which is not possible, or let's say -4 you are writing, negative index, then also it is giving undefined, right? So it has to, my valid index must be in the range of, let's say this array length is here, we can see 4, right? Then what is the valid range? Valid range is from 0 to 4 minus 1, which means 3, right? If the array length is, let's say, n, in general some number n, then the valid array index will be from 0 to n minus 1. This is how. But what is this n? How do I know that what is my length? And that is where this dot length thing comes in. So if you write something like dot length, then whatever whatever values are there, but if you simply want to see that what is the length of my array, then you see 5. 1 2 3 4 5 5 items are there in the array, right? So in this case, the index of the array will go from 0 to arr dot length minus 1. You understand, right? So this is the starting value and this is the ending value, valid value of array indices. So for those things, array dot length comes handy. Second thing is that we can also modify the value. So it's not that you have declared a particular value, right? You have declared a particular array value, arr. In this, there are 4 other, let's say 5 other numbers in this case. But you know what? I don't want here 4436. Let's say I want 44 I want rather than 4436. Okay. Then what I can do is that, like I can access the value. So in this way, let's say array 1. This is the way of accessing that value. In a similar manner, so reading that value. Apart from reading, you can also write that value. So let's say I change arr 1 is equal to, let's say 44. Then now if I print this, then obviously it will be 44. This is not that much interesting. The main interesting part is that you see that if you print the array, then you see that this array value also got changed. And doesn't matter, you can put you can put any value here. In fact, you can put any value which is valid. Let's say even string you can put, and then you will see that that thing has come. So you go to the particular index, and then change that, and then that can be modified, right? Let's, in a similar manner, let's change the 1 2 3 4 fifth element. So let's say array index 4, I change that to world. Okay. So this is one thing. Next thing, I'll show you that, let's say some foo I have written, and at index, so earlier we saw that if I tried to print some value arr 5, then I was getting undefined. But what if I try to assign value something here? Let's say I try to assign this array 5, then what is going to happen? You see that it has been added in the end. Okay. In fact, what happens actually is that let's say 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 something is there. Even if you, like, let's say 7th index, you are writing some value. Let's say right now, let's take number 9. At the 7th index, you want to write 9. You see what will happen is that 1 2 3 4 and 3 empty spaces, and then so 4 3 7, and then 8th place. 7 index means at 8th place the thing 9 has come. Now if you print something like this, that let's say I want to print I want to print 3, so obviously it will be 4. Let's print everything 3 4 5. So you see that 4 5 6 7, and let's print 8 also, and let's see all these values. So see what is happening. First of all, you can see that array 3, which means the 4th item is 4, and that's why 4 is printed. Now all those empty spaces, actually those empty spaces, you can understand are like blank boxes somehow inserted. This is like a weird thing. You should not mostly do that, but just be aware of this thing, that it happens that if you assign some value at an index which is like outside the range, then it adds at that particular index, but the intermediate values are assigned empty values. Now you see these empty values, if you again try to access, let's say item, so what are these empty values? So 4 values are there, 5th 6th 7th, which means that index 4 5 6, 5th 6th 7th values, these 3 values if I want to access, then you see that undefined is giving. And again the 7 index is like the 8th value, right? 7 index I have already assigned a 9, and that's why 9 is there. And again after that, again you go beyond, then array is not there, so normally we know that it will again give undefined. So that is how it is behaving. Just wanted to let you know. But you should if already some code is there where some behavior like this is there, that is fine, but you should not try to do generally something like this, definitely. But the idea is that you can take any particular index and you can modify with that value with anything whatever you want. So in this case I changed 2 to 9, and I changed the third value 3 to hello, and then something like this will happen, right? So it is fairly straightforward for normal arrays. Now this is very important. So when we are having an array, then obviously array will not be static. We have to increase, let's say we have to add additional values, remove values. So this is an example where I'm talking about that how to add values at the end of the array. So right now I'm talking about just the end. So right now this ARR is this thing, that is fine. But what if I want to add something at the end? For that the syntax is push. So here if you write ARR dot push, and then push is a function where you can pass additional values. So let's say I push, and you can pass only one value. How to join multiple values, that I will tell you in just a moment. But right now you understand that you can just give one value, and that one value can be, let's say I push 10, which means that 1 2 3 4, and please add this 10 at the end of this array. So when I print now this, then you see that 1 2 2 3 4 10, that is the value of the current value of the array. We mentioned this earlier also, but let's see, this is const, you see, and then also this thing is modifying. So you see that when this thing was here, then this thing was 1 2 3 4, and this thing is now 1 2 3 4 10. You see that we know that we cannot reassign constant variables, but that does not mean that it cannot change. In this case we are able to see that yeah, it is a constant variable, but it can still change. We cannot reassign, we cannot do something like ARR is equal to a new something like this. We cannot do this, right? But we can very well do something like this, some operation just internally modifying that thing. And what is happening is that whatever is the base address of this array, that is still the same, that is the same array, but we are just adding new values in the array. Okay, so we are not as per modifying. So you understand. So those who are not familiar with what do you mean, what I mean by reference base address, that means that let's say so let's say base address is something from where the array starts. So let's say this is some memory location. So on your computer RAM, let's say some address 1000 is there. So which this means that wherever like whatever is your RAM, what is happening is that at 1000 memory location, what it is saying that from here the array is starting. Okay, now I'm not and after that I can have like 1 2 3, all these things are there, right? Whatever is there. But when I am adding a new element, then yes, 4 is added here, but you know what, this base address is still 1000. So this thing, this ARR I am not modifying, and that's why this thing is still valid, and this is how it works. Again, we just discussed about how to add at the end of the array, how to remove from the end of the array. For removing end of the array, the syntax is something called pop. So let's say 1 2 3 4 is there, and I do pop, and then in pop I don't need to pass any argument, right? I do pop, and I don't need to pass any argument. Why? Because I'm not adding anything, I'm just removing whatever is there, just pop it off. So if you see here, then 1 2 3 4 was there, and but now after popping I get 1 2 3. Okay, just one more thing, what happens here is that the pop so push does not we'll see push, right? But this value, so let's say some val some whatever some xx value is there. Now if you print this xx value here, then you will see that whatever the value was removed, that is returned from the pop. You see, 1 to 3 is the new array, but whatever value was thrown away, that is actually returned from this function. This might be handy when you want to know that what value was removed. And let's try to do the same thing with push. So let's say 1 2 3 4 is there, and I'm pushing some value, let's say 7 or 8. Then let's see what is xx. Okay, so now you can see that when I do push, then it is returning 5 and it looks like it is length of the array, right? Okay, so now we are able to see that the behavior is different, and like we are getting confused that yeah, I have pushed something, it has added into the array, but this push function is returning 5. What is this 5? Now again, everything cannot be so you have to do experiments on your own, just try to learn something, and then for everything you should again go back to, let's say, uh, Google and see, let's say, some JavaScript push, you see, and then you go to Mozilla documentation and you'll see what is the return value, you see. So it will see that clearly it is written that what is the return value. The return value is the new length of the object upon which the method was run, which means that the method was run on ARR array. What is the new length? Earlier the length was 4. The new length after inserting 8 is 5, and that's why 5 is returned. Okay, so as mentioned earlier, that you should frequently go to the documentation if you have any confusion that how things are working. Next, so we added one item at the end of the array, right? What if there is another array and we want to concatenate that? So let's say something like let's say there is a array is there. This is 1 2, and let's say another array is there. Let's say b, which let's say this is 1 2 3. Okay, and this b array is 3, let's say, or 4 5. Okay, I want to what I want to do, I want to concatenate this array. So the syntax is that take an array and then do dot concat and then pass the another array which you want to concatenate, something like this. Okay, now you print a. See, nothing has happened. It is still 1 2 3. You print b. You see that nothing has happened. A is still 1 2 3, B is still 4 5. So what has changed? What has changed actually in this case, you have to see that so better to see documentation for this also, but I'll tell you here what this does is that when you do concat operation, then it does not modify any of the existing arrays, rather it returns another array. So let's say a new array, whatever, this new array is created, and if you print this array, then you will see that yeah, this creates a new array with all the elements of the first array concatenated with all the elements of the second array, which is passed. Okay, and then if you do something like b comma a, then what will happen? Obviously, now firstly the second array, and then it concatenates with the first array, which means that 1 2 3 will be at the end. Okay, next, adding items at the beginning. So we saw that how to add and remove from at the end. So push pop, how to add and remove at the beginning of the array. So firstly, see, add at the beginning. The syntax for that is unshift. So if there is an array 1 2, that array you take and you do unshift 3, then what will happen is that 3 will be added to the beginning. So you see, when you print now, then you will get 3 1 2. Okay, similarly you can remove items from the beginning of the array using something called shift. So there is an array 1 2 3, I do arr dot shift. Now this is again like pop. Here I am adding something, but here I am removing something. If you are removing something, then you don't need to pass anything, right? Whatever is at the front, that is going to be removed. Like for pop, whatever is at the back, that was getting removed. Here, whatever is in the front, that is getting removed. Now arr dot shift, that thing will basically remove that item, and then when I print arr1, then I'll see that only 2 3 is there, one is gone. But whatever the value which is thrown away, if you want removed that value, if you want to capture that what value was removed, let me see that value, then this shift, while it is removing that, it returns as its return value that value. So that you can capture here, and if you print that value, then you can see that yeah, this one is there. Again, this one is a value, and that's why it is simply 1. This 2 3 is still an array, right? In fact, even if you again do shift one more time, then obviously 2 will be returned from this side, but again the remaining one element 3 will still be printed as in curly in big bracket 3. Why? Because that is still an array. So normal array will be printed like this, and separate values will be printed by, without brackets. That is obvious, I think, right? Next we'll see next we'll see for loop. For now this is going to be it. Let's meet again in the next video.